The next session is about network innovation and measurements. We have the first presentation will be, it's actually a joint presentation by Cisco and Zain Kuwait. I would like to call for Clarence Filsfils, who's Cisco fellow for over 30 years, but he's young. Yeah. And he's going to talk about the IPv6 segment routing, actually. And he will be joined with Mr. Omar Alsharad from Zain Kuwait. He's an engineer in Zain Kuwait who worked with Cisco on deployment of the IPv6, right? Yeah, okay, so I leave the floor to you, and you have 30 minutes. Enjoy.
So, good afternoon. Many thanks for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to be here and to work with you. So here is I will do the introduction of the presentation. This is this one. So we all love IP. IP is at the heart of our industry. We use IP to stream music over the backbone. We use IP in our homes for the sensors, the humidity, the temperature, the camera for the security. When we access workload in the cloud, we use IP. When we run the mobile, it's over IP. So you might ask why Clarence is going over all of the pieces, all over the subparts of the IP industry to underline that this is about IP. It's because there is a fundamental problem, is that in all of these different custom applications, IP is never strong enough to deliver the service. In the cloud, you have VXLAN UDP. If you need to do firewall insertion, the ATF would tell you it's NSH. If you go over the backbone, this is MPLS. If you go over the mobile domain, it is GTP. And when your IP industry is segmented like this, it means that overall the cost is too high, the richness is too low, the scale is too low. So what we've been looking at inside the segment routing team is to strengthen IP to be self-sufficient. We want IP to deliver the communication needs of all of these domains as an integrated solution. And the integration gives you a much higher richness, a higher scale, and a lower cost. We did this journey into two steps. When we started, we had to reuse what existed. And the first step has been to drastically simplify the MPLS solution with the segment routing MPLS solution. The second step, we started it in 2016. It is to strengthen IP with the SRv6 solution, the IPv6 micro instructions. And this is what I'm going to present today. IP, as you will see, IP is nowadays strong enough to fulfill the needs of all of the domains that we reviewed previously, fundamentally with two solutions that have been designed together. SRv6 microsegment allows you to build any service across any domain. You no longer need MPLS in the core. You no longer need UDP VXLAN into the data center. You no longer need gateways between MPLS and VXLAN. You no longer need NSH to do service insertion, etc. You just use SRv6 microsegment to build any service end-to-end across any domain. But as you know, it is very important to measure services. And so as part of the solution, we have an integrated measurement solution which is called IPM. And this is what we, as the group of 3 speakers, we will review today. On my side, I will introduce the SRv6 microsegment solution, and then our dear friend Omar from Zain is going to give you an update on the SRv6 deployment at Zain, and then Hamed is going to give you an update on IPM. So SRv6 microsegment. You can find all of the tutorials and the presentation on segmentrouting.net. Very important, SRv6 microsegment is heavily deployed, and we build it as a strong team of partners with the operators. And you can see that the power of this partnership as the operators have presented publicly the deployment experience and the design guidelines. These public presentations are all available on segmentrouting.net. You can see many presentations from Alibaba, from Swisscom, from Rakuten, and many others who deployed SRv6. And the presentation of today will be archived there as well. So what is SRv6 macro instructions? Basically, when you transport your client packets across any domain or within a domain, you encapsulate it in an other header. And in the destination address, without any extension header, you already have the ability to encode 6 micro instructions. These 6 micro instructions may help you to build any kind of communication services: traffic engineering, overlay VPN, firewall insertion, so NFV service chaining, or any form of service that you have in mind. In all of our deployments, these 6 instructions in the destination address are sufficient. The solution is ultra scalable, as seen with the Alibaba deployment across China. And if you need more than 6 instructions, you use the segment routing extension header. And this segment routing extension header, as demonstrated already 2 years ago, is able at hardware to encode up to 30 instructions in the packet. So it shows how scalable and rich the solution is. But once again, in any deployment, the SRh is never used up to now, and all of the network programs are encoded with less than 6 instructions. The solution has been deployed today in any domain: access, metro, core, data center, host, on the cloud, and across domain in a stateless end-to-end program. By doing this, you eliminate the protocol gateways at the domain boundaries, for example, between the data center and the core. When we engineer the SRv6 solution, we engineer the network program capability behind the longest match of the destination address. What this means is that if you go through a legacy router, an IPv6 router that you deployed 20 years ago, SRv6 will work seamlessly. This is very important, and this explains why our deployment speed has been so high, is that we can easily deploy SRv6 in any existing IPv6 network, because the network program is hidden behind the longest match on legacy routers. It's key. The solution has been built day one for automation. The solution has been standardized. We built a rich ecosystem and a rich open source community. 2 of our lead operators, Dan Voyer, fellow at Bell, and Gyan Mishra, fellow at Verizon, have publicly explained it, how mathematically, without any doubt, the SRv6 solution outperforms MPLS in the core, in the WAN, in the metro, and how SRv6 outperforms VXLAN in the data center, along any comparison point. For example, it is 6% cheaper than UDP VXLAN in the data center because the overhead is 6% smaller. On any point, scale, richness, cost. There's no reason not to use SRv6. It's like gravity. If you look at the apple, it will fall. So SRv6 is spreading very fast across all of these domains, and that is a given due to these two comparisons. It's mathematical. When we started the SRv6 solution in 2016, we committed to our lead operators that we would build a rich ecosystem. We are now in 2024, and you can see that all of the parts of the economy have joined SRv6 microsegment. So it's very good for you to basically make sure that you invest in the right direction. We committed to make it a proposed standard, and our team at Cisco has led all of this creation of the standard. We have edited and co-authored 100% of the proposed standard RFCs that document the SRv6 solution. We have, I think now more, it's a few months old, but a few months ago we had up to 80,000 uSID routers deployed over the world with 2 flagship ultra-scale deployments, Alibaba across China and Rakuten, 14,000 devices deployed in Japan. A very important presentation from Rakuten last summer where they showed that through the SRv6 deployments, they decreased the complexity of operation by 95%, and they increased the operational metrics by tenfold. The theme that guides our work with the lead operators is that simplicity always prevails. We have never added any technology. We simply focus on making IP strong by itself, and we remove unnecessary shame layers that come from the past. So I'll introduce our dear friend Omar from Zain in order to share with you the deployment experience and design guidelines through the Zain deployment.
Assalamu alaikum. Hi, everyone. So we'll be going over our SRv6 deployment in Zain, Kuwait, and our success story. A little bit about myself. My name is Omar Alsharad. I have a bachelor's and master's degree in electrical and computer engineering from San Diego State University. I previously worked at Qualcomm as a radio access network engineer in San Diego, California, but I've since moved back home to Kuwait, where I work at Zain as a cloud network engineer, optimizing Zain's core network. I recently also got my Cisco DevNet Expert certification, and that is actually my focus. So it's on automation and network programmability. Okay, so what is Zain? Zain is a telecommunication company which was established in 1983 in Kuwait. And it currently operates in different countries, including Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Iraq, Jordan, Sudan, and South Sudan. We serve over 50 million customers with our mobile services, and we were one of the early adopters of 5G as well as SRv6, which we're very happy to discuss with you all today. Now, Zain offers mobile services, obviously, including 5G, as well as enterprise services, IoT solutions, streaming services, and most recently, SRv6. Zain's vision for its mobile network, the modern network, is to have it as a sustainable network. When I say sustainable, I mean that it should be a network that uses less power, less cooling, less rack space. We want to maximize our asset utilization while minimizing unused resources. We actually have a target of reducing our TCO, our total cost of ownership, by 46%. Now, how will we achieve that? There are a number of things that we are doing. We're first doing NAS, Network as a Service, where basically we will have a one-stop shop for all our B2B customers, where these B2B customers can access their services and request new services. We're also adopting an automation-first mindset. For us at Zain, we don't treat automation as a luxury. We think that automation is a necessity. It has to be there. With everything network related, there has to be automation, provisioning, and assurance. Now, we're also deploying SRv6. Why are we doing that? We want to have different services, and all these services will work across a single network layer, and that network layer is SRv6. SRv6 is also helping us with 5G network slicing. Now, if you've worked with network slicing before, you know that we have hard slicing and soft slicing. Soft slicing being the dynamic one, the preferred one. Without SRv6, it's very, very difficult to provide soft slicing. And I'm talking from experience with this. So we are very excited about SRv6. Now, why did we choose SRv6? I can think of 5 main reasons. Number 1 is the simplified network architecture, like Clarence mentioned. If you've worked with traditional network, legacy, let's say the legacy MPLS network, it can get extremely complex and extremely complicated once the network size grows. At least for me, I don't know, maybe I'm just a bad network engineer, but I can tell that it becomes very complex, very difficult for operators to operate these networks. With SRv6, we're planning to either reduce this complexity or even possibly remove it altogether and have a simple network design. We're also aiming for scalability. Because of 5G, because of IoT systems, the amount of network traffic that we're seeing today has exponentially increased. So we want our network to be scalable. And SRv6 is built with scalability in mind, so it's a perfect choice. We'll also have enhanced service performance, and that means that basically we'll have lower latency. Modern applications, take for example VR and AR applications, virtual reality, augmented reality, they require this lower latency, and SRv6 will help with that. We're also looking at programmability and automation. Like I mentioned, automation is at the forefront of every project that we're taking on. And SRv6 is built with automation and programmability in mind. Like Clarence mentioned, again, it was day one automation, so that fits with our vision. The last reason is it's a future-ready technology. So with SRv6, we feel that our network will be a modern network infrastructure that we can use to welcome in hyperscalers into Kuwait, and that is one of our targets. Okay, so our deployment. Currently, we have 14 sites that are fully deployed. We feel that with these 14 sites, we have a very robust foundation that we can build upon. More sites are coming very soon, and we're actually planning on adding more customers. Some of our wholesale customers are already onboarded. They're already using SRv6, and they're enjoying the benefits of having an SRv6 network. In 2025, we're planning on adding 8 new sites, and we're planning also on using Cisco CNC. So CNC is an automation platform that we'll use to provision services and provide us with assurance. Now, this is a very important point, this automation point. I'll repeat myself and say that automation is not a luxury, it is a necessity for the modern network. I can think of 3 main reasons why we'd want to have automations in our network. I think maybe Samad is looking at me now and he's thinking Omar is just lazy, that's why he likes automation. That's partly true, but that's not one of the reasons. I'll just say that, okay, one is that you'll have faster response time and operational cost will go down. Say you're troubleshooting a problem or trying to configure something that might take hours. If you use an automation tool, that can take much less time and you need less resources, less people working on that. Second of all is you'll reduce human errors. No matter who you are, I believe that if you have a human that repeats the same task over and over and over again, at some point they will make a mistake. With automation, you ensure that this machine will never get bored, it will just keep repeating the same task. And if automation is done properly, then you're eliminating human error. The third point is obviously assurance. Monitoring your network through an automation tool that can actually, in some cases, self-heal your network. Let's say something goes wrong in your network, then you can self-heal using this automation. So, what we plan to do at Zain Kuwait is we plan on using Cisco CNC to provide us with this automation. Now, we truly believe that SRv6 is revolutionizing our network. It's providing summarization for our routing information, and that will help improve performance. It's giving us better load balancing to remove bottlenecks in our network. We're going to have end-to-end network connectivity, as well as native integration of services. Our next steps in the SRv6 journey is that we will want to deploy more sites. We are fully committed to this SRv6 journey, so we want to add more. We want to improve our coverage of SRv6. Again, we want to add automation so that we can provision services faster for our customers, because the customer, they want services done immediately. They don't care about the people configuring at the back end. They just want their services. So with automation, we can make that process go a lot faster. And we're actually exploring something new. We're trying to push SRv6 into other network segments, like, for example, our GI network or our data center network, so that we can have a full end-to-end SRv6 network from the radio all the way to our core network. And that was it.
Cisco guys, just, is there any question to Cisco or Zain? Yes, no? Thank you very much.